The vibration in my apron pocket hit me like a phantom limb, cutting through the deafening clatter of the lunch rush. I was balancing a tray of burgers on my shoulder, sweat sticking my uniform to my back. I ignored the first buzz, but then it came again, a frantic, rhythmic pulsing against my hip. Motion detected, living room. Panic spiked in my chest. I had just adopted a rescue kitten, Barnaby, who was prone to disaster. I ducked behind the soda fountain, shielding my phone from my hawk-eyed manager, and tapped the notification. The live feed loaded, pixelating slightly on the diner's terrible Wi-Fi. It wasn't the cat. It was Angela, my roommate. "Thank God," I whispered, feeling relieved. I exhaled, my shoulders dropping an inch. I had been terrified. I was tuning in to watch Barnaby shredding the curtains. Seeing Angela just meant she was home early. The apartment was safe, or so I thought. My relief lasted exactly 3 seconds. Angela walked into the frame, her silhouette unmistakable even through the lag. She was rifling through a stack of mail with aggressive, jerky movements. She paused. I watched on the tiny screen as she pulled a large, bulky envelope from the pile. Even through the grainy connection, the colors stood out. The signature metallic purple of a Westhaven University decision packet. My breath hitched. "It's here. Call me," I whispered at the screen, a smile tugging at my lips. "Come on, Angel, call me." But Angela didn't grab her phone. She didn't smile. She went rigid. She ripped the beautiful purple packet open, stared at the contents for a split second, and then marched straight to the kitchen sink. My smile vanished. What is she doing? She held the flame of her candle lighter to the corner of the paper. The thick, glossy cardstock resisted for a second before bubbling and catching fire. I stood paralyzed in the break room, my brain refusing to process the image. No, a desperate hope clawed at my throat. That can't be mine. She wouldn't. Maybe it was junk mail. Maybe it was a brochure. Maybe it was her own acceptance letter, and she was burning it as some weird ritual. I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. But then she dropped the burning paper into the sink and turned on the faucet. I watched her flip the switch for the garbage disposal, grinding the ashes away instantly to hide the evidence. She turned off the water, checked her reflection in the window, and walked away as if nothing had happened. I shoved the phone back into my pocket, my hands shaking uncontrollably, trying to hold onto the shred of hope that I had just misunderstood what I saw. But the image of that purple envelope turning to ash burned behind my eyelids. That fire wasn't a snap decision. It was the boiling point of a 4-year Cold War between my poverty and her privilege. My name is Lola. I'm 24 years old, and for the last 4 years, I've been fighting tooth and nail to claw my way out of the trailer park where I grew up. To me, college wasn't a party, it was a life raft. I worked double shifts at the diner and took night classes at community college just to get a shot at a transfer scholarship. It was a grind that left me exhausted every single day, but I never complained. Then there was Angela. Angela was everything I wasn't. She drove a white BMW her daddy bought for her sweet 16, wore designer clothes to 8 a.m. lectures, and treated the world like it was her personal staff. We were roommates by financial necessity. I needed cheap rent in a safe area, and she needed someone to split the bill so she'd have more spending money for clubbing. For months, the dynamic had been clear. She was the queen, I was the peasant. She constantly made backhanded comments about my life. "I don't know how you work those long hours, Lo," she'd say, sipping a $20 smoothie while I ate instant ramen. "I need my rest to actually absorb the material." She assumed she was a shoo-in for Westhaven just because her father was an alumni donor. One night, I found a crumpled brochure in the trash. It was my application confirmation. She had thrown it away hoping I wouldn't see it. "They don't let just anyone in," she told me later, smirking over the rim of her sunglasses. "Don't get your hopes up." She didn't burn my letter because she hated me. She burned it because she couldn't comprehend a world where the help succeeded and the queen failed. The tension in the apartment was getting unbearable as decision day approached. so I looked for a distraction. That distraction came in the form of a 3-pound tabby kitten I named Barnaby. He was a menace, scratching the sofa, knocking over water glasses, and generally causing the kind of chaos that only a kitten can. Angela hated him. "If that rat ruins my leather love seat, you're paying for it," she had snapped at me one morning, kicking at him as he ran past. I couldn't afford to replace her furniture, and I certainly couldn't afford to lose my security deposit. So I took precautions. I went online and bought a high-end pet cam. It was discreet, designed to look like the spine of a black hardcover book, so it would blend into the bookshelf without looking like tech. I placed it on the second shelf, angling it perfectly to cover the living room, the front door, and the pass-through window to the kitchen. I actually told her about it, because I'm not a sneak. "Hey, I bought a camera to keep an eye on the cat while I'm at work," I said, pointing to the shelf. Angela was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through Instagram, and barely looked up. "Whatever," she muttered, waving a hand dismissively. "Just keep that beast away from my shoes." She thought it was a toy. She thought I was a joke. She didn't realize that the little black lens was motion activated, recording to an internal memory card, and about to become the most dangerous object in the entire house. The month leading up to decision day was a nightmare. The air in our small apartment felt thick, like a storm was about to break. Angela stopped going out. She stopped partying. She paced the living room floor until worn paths appeared in the rug. I knew why. She was failing her finals prep. I could hear her in her room, slamming books against the wall and screaming in frustration. But whenever her parents called, her voice transformed into pure syrup. "Everything is perfect, Daddy. Straight as. The professors love me." It was a lie, and a dangerous one. I heard her on the phone one night, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "If I don't get into Westhaven, he's going to cut me off. No allowance, no car, nothing. That can't happen, Lo. It just can't." She started looking at me differently. It wasn't just condescension anymore. It was deep-seated resentment. I was getting top marks on my finals while working full-time. She looked like she was drowning in her own entitlement. One night, she found me studying at the kitchen table at 2 a.m. She stood in the doorway, eyes dark and hollow, staring at my flashcards. "I deserve this more than you," she said, her voice cold and devoid of emotion. "You're used to struggling. You're built for it. I'm not." It was a threat, though I didn't realize it then. She was already justifying what she was about to do. The morning the letters were supposed to arrive, the air in the apartment was suffocating. I checked the USPS app, decision packets, out for delivery. I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my scuffed work shoes, dread pooling in my stomach. I had a double shift starting at 10 a.m. I couldn't call out. If I missed a shift, I wouldn't make rent. I had to leave before the mail carrier arrived. I walked into the living room, swinging my backpack over one shoulder. Angela was already dressed, clutching her car keys and wearing oversized sunglasses to hide her tired eyes. She looked fragile, vibrating with anxiety. "I can't stay here, Lo," she said, her voice tight. "I can't just sit and watch the door. I'm going to go get a matcha latte. Maybe drive around until noon. The silence is driving me crazy." "That's probably a good idea," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But if anything comes, can you text me? Good or bad? I just need to know." Angela forced a smile. It was the sweetest, most convincing smile she had given me in months. "Of course, babe," she said, checking her reflection in the mirror. "We're roommates. We're in this together. I'll be back by noon to check the mailbox, and I'll text you the second I have news." I nodded, feeling a wave of relief. I actually believed her. I walked out the door, locking it behind me, thinking the apartment would be empty for hours. I didn't know that she would circle the block, park the car, and wait in the living room for the chance to burn my life to the ground. I couldn't finish my shift. The image of the burning paper was eating me alive. I told my manager I was throwing up and needed to leave. I drove home in a daze, gripping the steering wheel hard, whispering to myself like a crazy person. It was a mistake. It was junk mail. It wasn't real. By the time I pulled into our apartment complex, I had almost convinced myself I had hallucinated the whole thing. I kept my head down as I walked up the path to the building, desperate to get inside and check the trash. Mr. Lucky, our elderly neighbor in 4B, was sitting in his usual folding chair by the stairwell, a newspaper spread wide open in his hands. He was a fixture of the complex, always reading the local news and keeping an eye on who came and went. I tried to hurry past him, mumbling a quick hello, but the rustle of his papers stopped me. "Lola, you're home early," he said, lowering the newspaper and peering at me over his reading glasses. A wide grin broke across his face. "And congratulations are in order, I suppose." I froze, my hand hovering over the railing. My stomach dropped. "Congratulations." "The mailman," he said, chuckling and folding the paper on his lap. "Confused fellow knocked on my door by mistake about an hour ago. He had a big, thick purple packet for you. Heavy thing. Westhaven University, right?" I pointed him right to your door. Told him, "That girl works harder than anyone I know." My blood ran cold. The denial I had been clinging to didn't just crack. It shattered. Mr. Lucky had seen it. He had directed the mailman to my door. The packet existed. It was purple. It was heavy. And Angela had taken it. "Thanks, Mr. Lucky." I managed to choke out, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face. I walked the rest of the way to my door, my vision blurring with red-hot rage. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. A strange smell hit me immediately, the sharp, acrid scent of burnt paper, heavily masked by the chemical sweetness of Ocean Breeze air freshener. Angela had sprayed half the can. She was sitting on the couch, her face arranged in a mask of tragic sympathy. She stood up, holding a thin, crumpled envelope she had printed herself. "Lola," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm so sorry. This came for you, you didn't get in." She handed me the forgery. My hand shook as I took it, not from sadness, but because I knew the truth. Mr. Lucky had seen the packet. I had seen the fire on the camera. This wasn't a mistake, it was a crime. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to shove her away, to drag Mr. Lucky in here and expose her right now. But I remembered my dad's voice. "Patience makes you dangerous." I forced myself to go limp. I forced tears into my eyes. "I can't believe it," I choked out, clutching the fake letter. "What about you? Did you get yours?" Angela's face lit up instantly. She reached behind a cushion and pulled out a pristine, thick envelope, likely a prop she had prepared days ago. "I got in," she squealed. "Full acceptance. My dad is already planning a party." That's great, Angela," I whispered. I retreated to my bedroom. I waited until I heard the shower running. As soon as the water started, I crept into the living room, popped the SD card out of the hidden camera, and raced back to my room. I inserted it into my laptop. The video file loaded in 4K. I saw the purple envelope. I saw her face. I saw the fire. I saved copies to my hard drive, a USB stick, and uploaded a copy to a secure cloud drive. I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to destroy her. The next morning, I waited until Angela left for her celebratory brunch before sneaking out to the campus library. I knew the truth, but I needed official confirmation. I dialed the admissions office at Westhaven University. My hands were sweating as the phone rang. When the officer picked up, I explained that my acceptance packet had been damaged in the mail, and I needed to confirm my status. There was a long pause, the sound of typing, and then the officer's cheerful voice returned. "Oh, absolutely, Lola. You were accepted into the honors program with a near-full scholarship. Congratulations." A wave of relief washed over me. Mr. Lucky was right. But then I asked about rejections, just to see how deep Angela's lie went. The officer laughed lightly. "Oh, no, dear. We sent out the large acceptance packets yesterday via courier. The rejection letters are just standard thin envelopes. Those go out in a separate batch next week." I froze. Angela hadn't just burned my letter out of jealousy, because she got in and I didn't. She burned mine because she didn't get a packet either. She was lying to me, but more importantly, she was lying to everyone else. 2 days later, Angela's parents arrived. They swept into the apartment like royalty, filling the small space with expensive perfume and loud voices. Her dad was beaming, clapping Angela on the back so hard she stumbled. I knew you had it in you, Angie. A Westhaven woman, just like your mother. Then came the bombshell. We're so proud, we decided to get you that graduation gift early. We're throwing a huge party in 4 weeks, just before graduation. The Range Rover will be yours that night. Angela squealed, jumping up and down, but I saw the terror in her eyes. It was a fleeting look, but it was there. A $50,000 car for a lie she couldn't sustain. Then, her mother turned to me. Oh, Lola, dear. We heard about your situation. So tragic. Her tone was dripping with pity. Since you won't be busy with transfer prep, we were hoping you could help cater Angela's party. We'd pay you, of course. It would be nice for you to feel included. It was humiliating. They wanted me to serve drinks at a party celebrating my roommate's fake success. But then I realized the party. It would be at a rented venue. There would be a projector. There would be an audience. I'd love to, I said, offering a small, submissive smile. I could really use the money. I had just secured my ticket to the main stage. I knew the video of the burning was powerful, but I needed more. I needed to dismantle her entirely. If she was lying about getting into Westhaven, what else was she lying about? While Angela was out shopping for her party dress with her mom, I stayed behind. I went to our shared desk and accessed the printer history log. I saw the file names clearly. Westhaven _logo _Jerez .jpg and rejection _template .pdf. But as I scrolled back, I saw something else. There were dozens of receipts printed with the file name receipt _SA master _order .pdf. I looked over at the coffee table. Angela, arrogant and careless, had left her laptop open and logged in. I opened her school folder. The file for her final term paper, the one she needed to pass community college to even be eligible for transfer, was there. I ran the text through a plagiarism checker. It lit up like a Christmas tree. She hadn't even bought a custom paper. She had bought a cheap, pre-written one from a database. It was a 100% match to a paper submitted at a state college 3 years ago. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about a college rivalry anymore. Angela was committing academic fraud. If this came out, she wouldn't just be rejected from Westhaven. She would be expelled from our current college and stripped of her degree. She was building her life on a foundation of dynamite, and I had just found the match. The dynamic in the apartment shifted from tense to unbearable. Angela fully embraced her role as the superior student moving on to bigger things. She started treating our home like a hotel she was checking out of, leaving boxes everywhere and demanding I help her pack. Since you're not going anywhere, Lo, you have plenty of time to help me box up these shoes, she said, tossing a pair of heels at me while I was trying to eat dinner. But then my heart stopped. Angela was reaching for a book on the high shelf, right next to the hidden camera. She knocked the book over, and it clattered to the floor, the lens facing up. She picked it up, frowning, turning it over in her hands. I thought you said this was a toy, she said, her eyes narrowing suspiciously. It looks real. I forced a laugh, though my palms were sweating and my pulse was racing. It was real, I lied smoothly, not looking up from my plate. But the battery died like 2 months ago, and I never bothered to charge it. It's just expensive junk now. She stared at it for a second longer, calculating. Since the burning incident was only 2 weeks ago, my lie made her feel safe. She shrugged and tossed it into the kitchen trash can. Figures, she muttered. You always buy cheap junk. She didn't see the tiny red light blink, once before going dark. 2 nights later, the walls of our apartment felt paper thin. I was lying in bed reading when I heard Angela shouting in her room. It wasn't her usual, I have nothing to wear tantrum. This was panic. She was screaming so loud that there was no expectation of privacy. The neighbors 3 doors down probably heard it. I crept into the hallway. She was on speakerphone. A distorted, male voice was on the other end. We need another 500, Angela. Or we email the dean, the voice said. It was the essay mill service. They weren't just selling her papers, they were blackmailing her. Angela was sobbing. I don't have it. My dad tracks my spending. The voice didn't care. Figure it out. You have 24 hours. I heard the sound of a wallet unzipping, then the furious tapping of keys. Fine, she screamed. I'm using his emergency card. Just delete the records. I quietly pulled out my phone and hit record, capturing the entire conversation through the door. She was digging her own grave. Not only was she a fraud, but she was now committing credit card theft against her own father to cover her tracks. I saved the audio file right next to the video of the burning letter. The evidence folder was getting heavy. 1 week before the party, Angela came to me with a favor. She leaned against the doorframe, sipping an iced coffee, looking at me like I was a useful appliance. So, she started, Mom wants a retrospective slideshow for the party. You know, Angela through the years kind of thing. And since you're so good with computers, and it's the least you can do after everything I've put up with, I thought you could make it. It took everything I had not to smile. It was the silver bullet falling right into my lap. She was literally handing me the controls to the projector. I don't know, Angie, I said, feigning hesitation. I'm pretty busy with work. She rolled her eyes. I'll pay you $50. Just make me look good. Put in all the awards and the acceptance letter scan I sent you. I paused, pretending to think about it. Okay, I said softly. I'll do it. I'll make sure everyone sees exactly who you are. She didn't catch the double meaning. She just smirked and walked away. That night, I began editing. I mixed sweet baby photos and high school graduation pics with the nuclear bombs I had been hoarding, hiding them carefully at the very end of the timeline. 2 days before the big night, Angela decided to twist the knife one last time. She invited 3 of her high school friends over for pre-party drinks. They sat in the living room, laughing loudly, while I was in the kitchen trying to study. Angela called out, Lola, can you bring us some ice? The machine is empty. I grabbed the ice bucket and walked out. The room went quiet. One of her friends, a girl named Jessica, who always looked at me like I was dirt, giggled. Is this the roommate? She asked Angela loud enough for me to hear. Angela nodded, swirling her wine. Yeah, it's sad really. Some people are born to lead, and others, well, others are born to serve. Lola is great at serving. They all laughed. I stood there, clutching the cold metal bucket, feeling the freeze seep into my fingers. It wasn't just an insult, it was a worldview. She truly believed I was beneath her. I placed the ice on the table without a word. I didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just looked Angela in the eye for a brief second. Laugh now, I thought. You have 48 hours left. Later that night, I whispered to Barnaby, wait until Saturday. Just wait. The venue was a rented hall at the local country club, dripping with gold balloons and banners that read Future Leader. Angela looked stunning in a red silk dress, holding court in the center of the room. Her parents were there, beaming with pride. On a velvet pillow near the stage, I saw them, the keys to the brand new Range Rover, shining under the chandelier light. I arrived through the service entrance, dressed in catering black, invisible to the guests. I was just the help. I set up my laptop at the AV table in the back corner. I connected the HDMI cable to the massive projector screen behind the stage, and crucially, I plugged the venue's 3.5mm auxiliary audio cable directly into my laptop's headphone jack, ensuring the sound would boom through the house speakers. Angela spotted me from across the room. She didn't wave. She just snapped her fingers and pointed to the sound system, mouthing volume up. She wanted her moment to be loud. She wanted everyone to pay attention. Don't worry, I muttered to myself, adjusting the levels as my finger hovered over the keyboard. Make sure the music is perfect when I accept the car, she had said. Oh, it was going to be perfect. Just not the way she thought. The room quieted down as Angela's father, Mr. Raymond, tapped the microphone. He stood under the spotlight, looking every bit the proud patriarch. Tonight isn't just about a college acceptance, he boomed, his voice echoing off the walls. It is about integrity. It is about the kind of character that is built through sleepless nights and honest, hard work. Angela, you have earned every bit of this. It took everything in me not to vomit. The irony was so thick it was choking me. He called Angela up to the stage. She glided up the stairs in her red silk dress, wiping away a perfectly timed tear. She took the microphone, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. "Thank you, Daddy," she sniffled. "I know I pushed myself hard. There were nights I didn't think I'd make it. But I did this all on my own." The crowd applauded politely. Angela beamed, soaking in the adoration. She believed her own lie. She looked down at the velvet pillow where the Range Rover keys sat, glinting like a trophy. She was minutes away from driving off into a sunset she hadn't paid for. I stood by the laptop in the shadows, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. My finger hovered over the play button. I locked eyes with her across the room. "Enjoy it," I thought. "This is the last applause you'll ever hear." Angela raised her glass, signaling the end of her speech. She pointed a manicured finger toward the back of the room. "And now," she announced, "my wonderful roommate Lola has put together a little montage of my journey. Lola, play the video." She smiled at me, a smug, victorious smile. She thought I was her servant. She thought I was beaten. I returned her smile with a cold, blank stare. I hit the spacebar. The video started exactly as she expected. Soft, sentimental piano music filled the hall. The screen showed photos of Angela as a baby, then her first day of kindergarten, then her high school graduation. The crowd awed in unison. Angela clasped her hands to her chest, looking at her parents. The video transitioned to a photo of us in our dorm, looking like happy friends. For a moment, the room was filled with warmth. Angela relaxed, turning her back to the screen to wave at a friend. And that was when I made my move. I didn't fade the music out, I cut it. Abruptly, the piano melody died in an instant. The screen went pitch black for 10 agonizing seconds. The room went dead silent. The air grew heavy. Angela turned around, confused. "Lola," she called out, her voice echoing awkwardly. The sound cut out. The screen didn't stay black. It flickered back to life, but the soft lighting was gone. In its place was a stark, high-contrast screen recording. It was the Westhaven University admissions portal. The text was zoomed in, large enough for everyone in the back row to read. The status bar was a bright, angry red. "Admission decision denied." A murmur rippled through the crowd like a wave. "What is that?" someone whispered. Angela's face went pale. She laughed nervously, a high-pitched, frantic sound. "Technical glitch," she shouted into the mic. "Lola, stop it. Turn it off." But I didn't stop. The slide changed. Now it was a series of invoices from essaymaster.com, followed by the plagiarism report showing 100% matches for her term papers. Then the audio played. Thanks to the AUX cable, it boomed through the country club speakers, the recording of her on the phone. "I don't have the money. If I use my dad's card, he'll kill me." The sound of her admitting to credit card fraud filled the room. Mr. Raymond's face turned a deep, dangerous shade of purple. He looked from the screen to his daughter. Angela screamed. "She faked it. She's jealous. She's a liar." She hiked up her dress and started running toward the AV table to stop me. She never made it to me. Before she could cross the dance floor, the final clip played. This was the one that mattered. The footage from the kiddie cam appeared in crystal clear 4K resolution, thanks to the SD card. The timestamp in the corner showed the date perfectly. The entire room watched in horror as Angela walked into the frame on screen. They saw her pull the thick, purple Westhaven envelope from the mail pile. They saw the jealousy twist her face. They heard her voice, amplified by the speakers, clear as day. "She thinks she's better than me. That peasant." Then came the act. The audience gasped as on-screen Angela lit the lighter. They watched the flames catch the corner of the acceptance letter. They watched her toss it into the sink and turn on the garbage disposal, grinding my future into sludge while she laughed. The video ended on a freeze frame of her smiling face. The silence in the hall was deafening. It was absolute. Angela froze halfway to the stage, paralyzed. She looked at her mother. Her mother looked sick. She looked at her friends. They were backing away. I leaned into the microphone at the AV desk. My voice was calm, shaking just a little. "I didn't fake anything, Angela. But you burned my future." The aftermath wasn't a fight. It was a collapse. Mr. Raymond didn't yell. He walked over to the velvet pillow, picked up the keys to the Range Rover, and put them firmly in his jacket pocket. He then walked up to the microphone. "The party is over," he said, his voice flat and cold. "Please go home." He walked off the stage, grabbed Angela by the arm, not gently, and steered her toward the exit. Angela was sobbing now, real, ugly tears. "Daddy, please." She set me up, but he didn't even look at her. Her mother followed, keeping her head down, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. Angela begged for help, looking at her friends, but no one moved. She was left with nothing. 1 month later, I sat on my bed in my new dorm room at Westhaven. The window overlooked the campus quad, filled with students. I checked my phone. I had blocked Angela weeks ago, but a mutual friend from the diner sent me a text. Guess who just got hired for the dishwashing shift? Angela. Her parents cut her off completely. I smiled and looked down at Barnaby, who was curled up on my textbook. "Best video I ever made, buddy," I whispered. I closed my laptop, grabbed my bag, and walked out the door to my first class. I had won.